Okay, let me show you one more, and I'll make this quicker. Okay, a lot quicker. What do you guys say? Okay, let me show you. And they call this, one guy's calling this a kind of a trap. He's saying this is called the skewer lure. Okay? Yes, skewer lure. I guess he likes poetry. Okay? And so of course, a skewer is when you do what? What is a skewer?
It would be like a bishop, a king and a queen, let's say on the same diagonal, and the bishop's attacking the queen.
Okay.
That'd be a skewer. No, it's the opposite. No, the king, never mind. It's when a better piece is in front when you're skewering, that's right. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the opposite of
It's
a
the
pin.
opposite of a pin.
A pin is when you threaten something, but if they move that piece, then you get something even better behind what you're pinning. Does that make sense? Like a queen or a king, or if it's king, of course, you can't move it. But if it's a skewer, you're threatening something that's worth more. And if that piece or whatever it is worth more moves out of the way, you get something worth less.
Right.
Okay? So skewer is the opposite of a pin. Okay? So anyway, let's take a look at this game real quick. Let's just play a few moves here. So plays e4, he plays e5. By the way, this is a similar kind of opening. Okay? White plays his knight up to f3. Okay? Black plays his knight c6. White plays d4, same opening, bishop c4. Okay. Black plays see, knight to f6. Yeah. And white castles. What's white trying to tempt black to do?
Take on e4.
Take on e4. Is taking on e4 okay?
I get away with it.
Turns out it is. Yeah, it's actually a mean line in this variation. And if white takes, white goes there, black plays here. I'll just show you guys a couple of the moves that are at least commonly accepted. And just like in a max Lang's attach, you can actually take this pawn. Have you guys seen this before?
Yeah.
So remove the pawn, discarding the knight. They take with the queen. And now you play here.
Nice. Yeah.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Pawn can't take because the queen hangs.
Yeah.
Knight can't take because it's pinned. Okay? Queen's threatened, the knight's threatened. So you have to move your queen and he's going to get the knight back. But this, if you know about the max Lang's attack, which is very similar start here, then you know that you can get into positions like this. Okay? It's actually pretty common. Let's go back. So black doesn't take the pawn. White castles. Black plays his bishop to e7. Okay? So he's playing very conservative. He says, I'm just going to let you have the pawn back. I'm going to get my king castled. And I think this is a reasonable decision. So white takes the pawn. What is white trying to tempt black to do? Again.
Just take the pawn.
Take the e4 pawn.
Yeah.
Is taking the e4 pawn okay?
Oh, gosh.
He's asking me one of those bad questions again. Okay. I'm sorry? Is that okay? Okay. So this isn't good, or this is good?
I don't think it's good. I think
Okay.
it's better to just leave it good.
Okay, let's take it. Let's see what can white do here.
E1.
Okay, I'll tell you what the way I look at it without analyzing. Okay, without analyzing, believe it or not. The way I look at it is I can sack a bishop here. That's always looming, right? There's many positions where you can get away with taking on f7. And so you can sack the bishop here. And another thing I see is when black took that pawn on e4, when black took this pawn, he put his knight in a position that was compromised, where the knight's compromised, the knight's hanging.
Independent.
Okay? And if I take on f7, I bring his king out, now I've got two targets. I've got the king, and I've got the knight in e4. And so I'm trying to examine positions where I might be able to combine on the two. For example, after he takes back with his king on f7, I'd love to put my queen on d5. Can you guys tell why? On d5. See why I'd love to put it there?
Well, yeah, I mean, you got a bishop
That-
queen battery.
Yeah, it'd be hitting the king, it'd be hitting the knight, right? I'd be getting my piece back, it'd be fun, okay, as king is walking around. So what square could I put my queen on to target that square? I take this pawn, he takes. How could I get my queen there real quick?
Oh, I see.
Where would my queen have to go first? H5. And that would be check, wouldn't it? If black plays this wrong and goes back there, I'm going to get what I wanted. Because then he's going to be on that diagonal. See it? Okay? And he can't go back there. What if he pushes the pawn up? Does that help? I take check, his king takes, my queen goes out check, and he pushes the pawn up.
Oh, G6.
But then we still have the same thing. Everybody see it? So the only place, and what about f6? Now that would be one of my favorite spots for him to go to. But let's see if you guys can picture that. If we take the pawn, his king takes, I play queen here check, his king moves to here, f6. My queen's on h5, what could I do?
Don't you have
Now, first of all, if somebody's king walks out that far, if their king walks out that far this early in the game, what are you expecting to happen? Checkmate. So I'm going to look at a few checks at least and hope that maybe something like that might work.
Can the queen come to F5?
F5, say check.
Yeah.
Where does he go now?
Not too many places.
Can you guys see a place he can go after we check on F5? So this is what Chet's saying. We take on F7, check, king takes, queen goes here, check.
Right.
King moves up here, and check saying I put my queen here. So if I put my queen on F5, where's it going?
Not backwards.
Yeah, it's not going backwards.
At least I could see that much.
Yeah.
He's done.
Yeah, it's over. Checkmate, that's it, done.
Checkmate.
So but he does have one square, and that's why you're supposed to analyze all the, each possibility. At least look at each possibility a few moves, right? So if he has one square, he can move his king, and that is f8. And if I go queen h5 check and he goes king f8, now how do I finish it? I've invested a bishop, right, for a pawn. I've invested a bishop for a pawn. I go out there check, and he moves where?
F8.
Where was his safe square? F8.
Right.
Now what did I get for all this?
Nothing.
Yeah, now it's getting rough, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm not happy. I'm not going to be able to check here or here because to try to pick up his knight because he's going to do what? If I check on either one of those squares, he's going to move his knight back, isn't he?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And this isn't looking so attractive anymore because it's not a check. Okay. So it's questionable whether we should take that pawn with our bishop. I have to say ixnay on that. It looks great. It looks like maybe I can combine something with the king being out there and the knight, but just not quite there. Okay. Okay. So in any case, my guess is that he was hoping that black would be afraid of this move because he was afraid that white might sack. Maybe he didn't want to have to analyze all those variations. Maybe he was afraid that white would bring his rook over and then start to get a little bit of compensation by threatening the knight. And for example, if I go here and black moves the knight here, maybe I've got an attack if I go here, something like that. Okay. Maybe he thought that if he pushed here with the pawn, that he could play here. And then maybe he's making a threat here, and then maybe he's threatening f3, push the knight back, maybe he can attack here. Who knows? But I'm thinking that my guess is that white overestimated this. That this is probably probably okay for black. The black might get away with just taking the pawn. But white certainly gets a little bit of compensation. So what? Queen of g4. Okay. You see. Let's think about that. So he hit the knight, hit the pawn. How about let's see, d5? No, yeah, maybe d5. What if he pushes pawn to d5? Okay, is that possible?
Yeah. That's
Now he defends the knight, right?
No,
Well, do we? Because if we take here, what would you defend? How would you defend if you're black? How would you defend your rook? Anybody?
Rook to f8.
Rook to f8?
Oh, then the pawn, you drop the pawn.
Yeah.
Bishop.
Yeah, bishop f6. You're hitting the queen, and you're hitting a piece that is suddenly undefended. And the bishop's still threatened.
So black
Okay.
is winning.
How do we set a position as white where 3 pieces are threatened at the same time? Not necessarily that great, is it?
Not a good move.
And there might be some brilliant save, but it's starting to look a little bit bleak to me. Okay, so let's go back. In any case, black didn't take it. Okay, black took the knight here. White took, and black apparently didn't like white pushing this pawn, threatening the knight. So black plays here. Okay. Now, here's where the real learning comes. So hold on to your horseshoes. Okay. Okay. White goes f4. Okay. Let me ask you a question. When white goes f4 early on in the opening, what is one of the things you always have to be careful of in a lot of different openings? Can anybody tell me? What are you always cautious of before you play your f pawn to f4? I realize that you're getting the pawns together to possibly push in the center. What is the one thing you always try to be careful of?
The king is lined up on that diagonal.
Yeah. And then, in this case, the queen's lined up, but you're worried about that diagonal for a lot of reasons. Maybe they can just play a check in that diagonal. You know, maybe there's another piece in that diagonal, like a rook too, not just a queen. Okay? So that's one of the things you're worried about. And black decides, you know what, I'm going to exploit this. Okay? I think that maybe I can trick white. Black goes here. Looks like an ugly move, but what is black preparing? Can anybody tell? I'm sorry? Yeah, which bishop?
White square bishop.
The white square bishop? No. It's not.
Oh.
Remember what?
Move the pawn, C pawn down.
Oh.
Which pawn?
C pawn?
No.
C pawn?
No. To play D. Oh, that's
And then you just hit the queen, and the queen would move,
No,
right?
you play D5 and then bring the bishop.
Yeah,
and
do you
skewer
see what
it
he's-
too.
you
Because
see it?
That other pawn, that's sneaky.
Yeah. You guys see it?
Yeah.
So he's hoping, gosh, I want to push here, hit your bishop, and threaten this.
Right. That's beautiful.
Can you imagine losing really fast that way?
Yes.
Okay,
It's game.
that would be a pain. And white decided, I'm going to play here. So, and this kind of makes it fun. I'm not saying this is the best move. Just saying this is just something white decided to do. Okay? And now, if black took the pawn, and you as white saw what black was doing then, what would you do in response? If black took your pawn, what would be your move?
Oh, I see. Okay. To get off of that diagonal.
Yes. Everybody see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to get up the diagonal. So what are you going to do? Pawn takes pawn, you're going to be taking with the
Queen
queen.
takes pawn.
Everybody agree? Okay. So black didn't do that, though. Black said, I've got this idea. I'm just going to
Yeah,
carry
still
through.
do it.
You see it?
Yeah.
So now he's going to play there. He's going to hit the bishop. And he's going to pin the queen. But that is the losing move.
D5 is losing.
D5 is the losing move.
Oh.
So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of time here.
Such a cool
So black puts the pawn there. He's threatening the bishop, right?
Ouch.
He's getting ready to pin him.
Yeah.
Looks like there's 2 threats here, right? But that's a losing move. What could you do as white? I wish I could turn off the analysis so nobody would have to look at that.
Right.
Put it down, check.
Can I?
Just click on the top tab on it. Yeah.
Okay, show lines? Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys get a chance to look for it yourself.
Right. Yeah. So
Okay, why does white win here? Because black tried this d5 move, which looks real tricky, threatens my bishop, threatens to pin my queen, but I actually win here. What do I do? So take. Why don't you guys just take? I want you, as an exercise, guys, just take like 30, 40, 50 seconds. Just talk about it with each other. Somebody suggest a move, and you guys analyze it. Somebody else suggest a move, you guys analyze it. I'm gonna get a drink of water.
We look for checks first, right? Checks. And checks.
That's a check and then move the queen over behind the bishop to support it.
Well, so you're
The
thinking,
heat guard with the bishop.
wait, are you saying we did check, you're saying bishop b5 check?
Right.
Okay, so if bishop b5 check, what's the block? The natural block would be bishop to c7, the block, right?
Why doesn't he just take the
No, I'm just saying,
knight?
so why don't we just go with that? So after.
Why doesn't he
bishop
just
b5
take the knight afterwards? If he
No,
checks,
no, he's in
and
check.
then just take the knight.
Oh, to block, oh, I see.
Because if it takes, then you just take take the bishop too. Or take the other, go take his rook.
Okay.
Maybe bishop b5 is my
If he
point.
takes. if he
Okay,
takes
so
with the-
let's follow their lines, guys. He's taking the knight, right? So I suggest we take the knight.
No, we're looking at bishop b5 check first.
Oh, bishop to b5 check.
First, and then
Okay.
take the knight.
Good.
That's what we're trying to follow, that line.
So bishop b5 check,
Right, and then
Okay.
you gotta block the check.
and then what? Bishop d7.
Right, that's what we analyze.
Okay.
Then just take the knight.
Take the knight,
Yeah, but then.
and then he brings his bishop up and pins our queen with his bishop, right? On c5. So in other words, okay, we go check here. Bishop goes here. We take the knight. He pins our queen.
I see what you're saying.
Yes, and so.
Right.
I mean,
Because remember, once again, this is one of the things you should always be watching carefully for.
So
Is
then
there?
you
This can be a great move, but make sure there's nothing, no checks, no danger. In fact, a lot of strong players will move their king over first. Anybody ever notice that? And then they'll push that pawn.
also what you.
And I'll bet you guys have done that before. Okay?
So I would change that move, so bishop b5 check, the bishop d7,
Bishop.
c7 to block, take that bishop with check,
Okay.
and then something takes back.
Then after the queen takes, okay.
And then you can pick up the knight, but if the knight can go back and take that bishop though, the knight takes c7, and then maybe black's out of danger.
Okay.
Oh well.
Well, if you
So-
slide your queen over.
So then, okay, so we play there and then we trade bishops, and then we can move our queen out of the way. Okay, and we saved ourselves, right? Okay. Now we saved ourselves, but we didn't win, and we are absolutely winning here. There's a crushing
No, I'm not
response.
saying-
There's a crushing way to play this.
So you move your b pawn up then.
Your B pawn. Okay. Your B pawn. Okay. Where to
All
there?
the way up.
Here.
There you
Okay.
go.
So then, if he
has to
takes
take-
our bishop, what do we do?
Then you check him with the king, the bishop, other bishop. If he takes with your bishop, he takes.
No. Okay. So we go there. He takes our bishop. Then what?
Oh no, that bishop's pawn's in the way.
Well, you take with the queen, and then you take his knight, so it's trade. So it's not winning, but it's trade.
Okay. Okay. So now one of the things you should consider is now bishop B playing the B5 check. That's interesting, right?
And then
Okay,
you move it
but he does-
over if you pinned it up.
Okay. So right now, so what do we do? What's our first move?
On takes the
Okay, and then he puts the bishop up and pins our queen.
I think then you chair
Check how?
with the rook.
With the rook, okay. And the king moves, what, to d7? Okay. Moves up to d7, then what? Yeah. I'm doing that only because I know what you were going to do. So I went ahead and did something else just for fun.
And then you're going to check with the bishop, right? For d7.
I'm sorry?
You're going to go bishop d7.
Okay, bishop d7. So bishop b5 check is your initial move, right? Bishop goes to d7, then what?
Then
Then we take the knight. Okay, then he pins our queen, bishop to c5.
E1, check.
Okay, and the king has to do what?
The king has to go to F8.
f8.
And pawn takes. And
He who hesitates is lost.
Hey, wait. Getting back to bishop b5 check, then bishop d7, then the queen can swing over to. Can the queen swing over to a4 then to get off that diagonal?
Okay.
if the
Well, let's
Pawn
finish.
takes-
Let's finish what we're looking.
Okay.
Okay.
if the pawn takes the bishop and you take the queen, he takes with the king, and then you check.
So, I'm not sure which position, which variation you're in. So bishop b5. So he said bishop. He said bishop check, bishop there. Pawn takes knight. What are you looking? Are you looking at the same thing?
No, I'm
Okay.
looking at something else.
The bishop goes to c5, pins the queen. Then you said rook here check, right, Alex? King moves to f8.
First we take the pawn of g7.
No, the rook check, if the king goes to f8, then the pawn takes g7.
Yes.
Well, if we take the pawn takes g7, he takes our queen with check, right?
Oh, that is over there.
Wait, if the king's on f8.
That would be not so fun. I'm sorry.
If the king's on f8, then that's check.
Okay. So go ahead. So
King moves and then the queen, then the pawn.
so rook check and the king moves to f8. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, if the king goes to f8, then the pawn takes g7 check.
Check and the king moves to g8.
And then the pawn takes the rook.
What do you guys think? Okay, so this is what he says. Let's see if you guys agree. Okay, so he thinks maybe bishop check. Bishop goes here. Pawn takes knight. Right? The bishop goes here, pins the queen. Now black has a bishop here and here right now, right? Those are the two bishops. And our bishop's here. We've just taken the knight. Okay? He pinned us. Now we play the rook over and we say check. Now since this bishop is pinned, this black bishop's pinned, he can't block that way. And if he blocks with this bishop, then we can take it with the pawn or the rook. Okay. So he's going to move the king over.
Okay.
So after we play rook over check, his king goes to f8. Okay. And then he says pawn takes pawn check.
Oh, pawn takes g7.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's a 4.
And now the king can't take because why?
What's in the way? Oh, because the queen.
Because the queen's guarding it, right?
Yeah.
So when you play pawn takes pawn check, he says, Mike's saying the king goes over to g8.
Okay. All right.
And now how do we finish, Mike?
Pawn takes rook.
Pawn takes rook,
Check.
make a queen.
Check.
And where does he go?
Oh, queen and queen. Queen check.
Ah,
Queen's defending the queen.
I think that's what Mike's point was.
That's a nice one. Yeah, that's great job, Mike.
That's me.
Is that checkmate?
That's right.
Is that?
I think you guys ought to shake these guys' hands. You
Well,
know?
understood the best players, the ones in the back are the best players. Is that the winning combination?
I'm sorry?
Is that the winning combination?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay, I think what the guy did is he decided to take this knight first. Okay. And then he played bishop here. And I think one of the things that made it interesting here is if he takes the bishop, then if black takes the bishop, then it doesn't seem to work quite the same way. Okay, but white could take the queen and then take the pawn. That's one thing that can happen. But black could have, but he could have gone in for this. What black did, though, is he played bishop c5, and then he played what? He played, once again, check. Kind of makes it kind of more interesting because the bishop isn't there yet. Okay? But similar idea. And what? Blocks with the bishop, because if the king moves over, we have the same idea of taking the pawn. So it blocks the bishop. Now that bishop's pinned. And this bishop's involved with trying to get the queen, so Good timing. We're going to play check. Okay. And now if you move the bishop back, then white's going to take the bishop, for example, right? The rook or the pawn. So he moves the king over here. You guys see the finish now, if you didn't see it before. Yep. He takes on g7. And the queen's guarding it, even though it's queen's pinned. Kind of sadistic, isn't it? King comes over and finish him off. Now, can you guys tell why they call this the skewer lure?
Skewer lure.
Oh, yeah, yes, because
Why they called it? Kind of funny, huh? What do you guys think?
Skewer.
lured him into a skewer, and